Shalom, shalom, peace, and blessings to everyone who has joined us today. My name is Jadiel. Welcome to the Fourth Angels Learning Center. I want to thank you guys for joining our study today, our class. Today's class is going to be very important as far as the walk is concerned, as far as personal reflection, personal meditation. This is something that my children and I, my family and I, my wife, myself, my wife, and my children have been studying before the Day of Atonement, before the observation of the Day of Atonement. So between the Feast of Trumpets to the Day of Atonement, each day we've been studying certain points of atonement. So it's very important that we grasp these points, meditate on these things. These are the basically fundamental aspects of what to apply to our daily life, what to apply to our daily thinking, and what to apply to our daily actions in order to maintain our unity and connection with Yah. So we're going to start by basically breaking down atonement and redemption. The reason why I say atonement and redemption is because they're kind of synonymous. They play a different part, but they both connect, definitely connect. So we're going to start in a second. First, I want to ask you guys if Fourth Angels Learning Center has been a blessing to you, if you could consider to bless us in our efforts to push us forward in this work of spreading the truth and many other things that we're involved in. You could check out our Facebook page to see the pictures of the immersions and, just many different things, counseling sessions, marriage counselings. We just officiated a beautiful wedding this weekend. So we do a lot. We do a lot, and we desire to do more, to sacrifice ourselves to do more. So if you consider to help us to push forward our efforts, you can support us at 4alc.com. You can also support us at Cash App, which is $4ALC bless. That's 4ALC BLESS. All right. And if anybody who's watching this for the first time, if you have not subscribed already, please consider subscribing to the YouTube page, clicking the notification bell, the likes, as well as sharing this video to those who you desire to hear this message as well. And, I think this is going to be something that a lot of people ought to be meditating on. This is something that I taught my children. So this is something that children, families should be involved in understanding and considering and meditating on together, So the first aspect is to define atonement and redemption. To define atonement and redemption. So what is atonement and what is redemption? Well, redemption, or to redeem, is to buy back, is a ransom. A ransom is something that you exchange one thing for another, whether it be financially or whether it be a debt, to exchange payment in order to free a debtor. So there's an aspect of freedom from a debt. So redemption is an aspect of freedom from a debt, to receive someone or to free someone from something by exchanging. Atonement is an aspect of reconciliation, but there's certain aspects of atonement that means cleansing as well as freedom as well. So ransom is kind of like a freedom payment, but atonement is also an aspect of freedom as well as cleansing. So these aspects is what brings about reconciliation. So the Day of Atonement is a focus on the reconciliation of Yah and his people, the reconciliation or the redemption of his people from their debt, or the cleansing and the freeing of their people from their debt. So it's interesting how there's a whole time period between the Feast of Trumpets to the Day of Atonement, and which I believe is a time to focus, is a time to be aware that redemption is near. And the scripture talks about redemption being near all the time, all the time. It tells you to pay attention. It tells you to meditate. It tells you to be sober-minded because your redemption is near. So there's this aspect of causing us to think about our debt, causing us to think about what is the ransom, what's the payment, what was the payment for our debt, and to meditate on those things. And so at this point in time, I think everybody watching is aware of the freedom that Messiah has given us for our debt. When you look up Leviticus 16 and study Day of Atonement, you'll see that the sin offering or the sacrifice was to cleanse the temple of the sin that required a debt of death. And the cleansing from off of us and the removal of it, the complete eradication of sin was what was allowing Israel to be united with Yah in an upright, in a cleansed, purified way. So the purifying of the temple is also involved in understanding the purification of our relationship with Yah. Check out Leviticus chapter 16 to confirm that. So as we continue to move forward, we see the atonement, 7 points of atonement, which is an aspect of freedom, of a freedom payment for our debt and the cleansing of our debt as well. So let's look at this. The first principle number 1, establish trust. Establish trust. And what do I mean by that? I mean faith by remembering. Sometimes we tend to think about something that Yah didn't do and then work really hard to believe that he's going to do something he didn't do. But establishing something is something that has already been done. Trust has to be established by something that was already done. So faith by remembering. Let's look at a few verses just so we can understand this principle. This principle is very important. Deuteronomy chapter 8. We're going to look at verse 2 to 7. Look what it says. It says, you shall remember all the way which yahuah your Elohim, your mighty one, led you these 40 years in the wilderness. You shall remember the way that he did it. If you want to go check out how he did it and what they ought to remember, read the Torah, read the book of Numbers, read the book of Exodus, Numbers, and Leviticus, and you'll see how he led them through the wilderness. So he says to remember all the way which Yah, your mighty one, led you these 40 years in the wilderness. It says to humble you, to prove you, to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. He humbled you and allowed you to hunger and fed you with manna. So this is very interesting. He allowed you to hunger and then he fed you with manna, which you did not know what it was. Neither did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man does not live by bread alone. We know this verse. Messiah mentioned this when he was tempted by the enemy. It says, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of yahuah doth man live. Very important. Establishment, to remember what he did in order to establish trust that he's going to do what he said he's going to do today and tomorrow. Let's look at a few more verses. Let's look at Psalms. Let's look at Psalms chapter 62. Psalms chapter 62, looking at verse 8. It says, trust in him at all times, you people. Pour out your heart before him. Elohim is a refuge for us. Elohim is a refuge for us. He's a pavilion. He's a protection for us. Trust in him at all times. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 3. We're going to look at verse 5 to 7. Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart. Lean not unto your own understanding. Sometimes the way that we understand things, the way that we perceive things, even in the natural realm, like the reality of science, sometimes alters our trust, alters our confidence in what Yah is able to actually do. Imagine Israel walking up to this Red Sea and looking at the Red Sea and just giving up because it's like, there's no possible way I can get across this in time before the Pharaoh comes. Not understanding the possibility of what Yah is able to do, especially since they should have established trust after what he has done for them already in Egypt. by pouring out those 10 plagues and delivering them. So imagine Moses this is impossible. But in fact, what they saw was still not a hindrance in what Yah was able to do. They didn't have to forget about what Yah did in the past. They could look at this impossible thing and still trust that Yah would do it because he did an impossible thing before. So what did he do? He parted this Red Sea, caused them to walk on dry land across this Red Sea, and then closed this Red Sea on their enemies. So the trust that we have a lot of times is hindered by our perception, like what we force ourselves to believe when we see things. Rather than believing in what we know, we force ourselves to look at the earthly instead of keeping our minds fixed on the heavenly. So it says, lean not unto your own understanding. Like don't focus on your earthly understanding of things. Just acknowledge him in all your ways. In all your ways, acknowledge him. He will direct your path. He will show you where to go. He will establish your steps. Be wise, not in your own eyes. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear Yah and depart from evil. Remove yourself from all that is contrary to Yah. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Don't be caught up in your own intellect. Don't be caught up in your own thoughts and your own smarts. It doesn't compare to what Yah is able to do. Yah does not dwell, or he's not restricted by this natural realm or this natural wisdom or this natural understanding. He surpasses that, and he alters nature for his people. We see that from the very beginning. So we ought not to be so caught up and consumed in what we know and what we're wise in. Okay, let's look at a few more verses. Proverbs chapter, let's go to Psalms chapter 37. Look what it says here. Psalms 37 verse 40, it says, Yahuah shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them. Why? Because they trust in him. So let's paint the picture. Yahuah will help them and deliver them. Why is he saying that? Because sometimes people are in the midst of a trouble. They're in the midst of a scenario where it's bringing them it's bringing them stress, or it's bringing them hardships. It says he shall deliver them from the wicked. He will not allow the wicked to come to them. It says that he shall deliver them from. So sometimes the wicked ends up in our midst. The wicked get to the point where they are engaged in trying to throw off our efforts to walk righteously, to walk uprightly. It says that he shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him. Because we trust in him. Very important. It's not a matter of things never happening. It's not a matter of people never affecting us or hurting us. It's not about that. It's about knowing that Yah will deliver us, maintaining our hold on Yah and his word and his promise, regardless of what's going on around us, and watching and waiting, expecting Yah to deliver us. If we continue to trust him, not if we start taking it upon our own hands to save ourselves, taking it upon our own hands to redeem ourselves. Like, no, if we are going to work on our own behalf, then Yah is not going to move on our behalf because we already got our reward. Whatever we receive based off of our own strength is our reward. We need to endure. We need to cry out. We need to call on him. We need to be still and know. We need to bind ourselves to Yahuah and his promises and trust that he will bring us out. Let's look at a few more verses. So trust is very important. Let me see if I can pull this up. Because this is something very interesting. Let's see if we can H2620. See what the James says. Interesting. Look at what it says. Trust, to flee for protection. That means to go to the refuge, go to the place of confidence. Look at this. Figurative, to confide in, to have hope in, and to make refuge, right? The Brown Driver Briggs says to seek refuge, to flee to protection, for protection. So this is very interesting. It's telling you not to just stay still and in your mind, like, okay, let me just trust in Yah. It's telling you to go after him, to seek him. Seek him in prayer, seek him in study of the word of Yah, seek him in meditation, seek him in, sometimes you got to go by yourself and meditate when you're dealing with situations where you're engulfed in just wicked people around you trying to bring you down and tear you down and give you wrong influence. Sometimes separation and waiting for Yah to give you that direction, acknowledging him in all your ways, allowing him to direct your path out of the situation. Sometimes there is no way to move. Sometimes you have to find like a quiet place and make sure that you are seeking him. Many times we allow these things, these elements, seeking him and all these things, to be so outward. They are outward, but they are not outward without the direction of the inside, or the direction of the heart and the mind. Like, you don't go seeking Yah by just sitting there and just knowing that he's going to do something, because that's not how it works. The enemy is going to bring distractions in. The enemy is going to bring counterfeits in. The enemy is going to bring confusion in. So what is it that we need to bind or seek? We need to bring our minds into the word of Yah. That's what we just read in what was it? It was Deuteronomy 8, verse 7, where it says, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word. Man shall not live by bread alone, but they shall live by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah. This is how we live. So it's interesting when we sit there and could consume ourselves with our own thoughts. We're just destroying ourselves. We're just making ourselves more and more insecure, making ourselves more and more doubtful. It's not a matter of, it says, be not wise in your own understanding. Don't be consumed in what you could conjure up in your own mind, but consume your thoughts with the word of Yah. It doesn't even matter what you read. Consume your mind. You read in the book of Kings, read the book of Kings all the way through. Don't allow your mind to go off into like some imaginary realm, destroying your security, destroying your confidence in Yah, destroying, giving you doubts, giving you insecurities, giving you depression. All of these things, all of these elements. It's not always the enemy bringing these things on us. Many times we offer the enemy this arsenal, we give them this ammunition to attack us with, when in actuality all we have to do is consume ourselves with Yah, consume ourselves with his word in prayer, meditation of his word. Don't meditate by just don't clear your mind. Fill your mind with what he says. Don't fill your mind with your own thoughts, thinking that you're smart enough to put these things together. No, never consider yourself to just putting these things in your own head. Okay, you have to make sure that you are trusting in him, running to him, running to protection. This is what trust means. If my children are afraid because they trust me, what are they going to do when they're afraid? They're going to run to me. They're going to call me. They're going to look for me. They're not going to be, I wonder what this is. Let's examine this a little bit more. Let me think about what I could think about. No, they're going to call me right away. They're going to act, yell for me, be persistent until I'm there, until they know that I'm there and they know that everything is okay. This is the same childlike childlike actions that we should also take when pursuing Yah, when seeking him, when trusting in him, when being still with him. He wants us to do these things. So number one is very important. Establish trust, faith by remembering what Yah has done already, faith by what he has done to Israel, faith by what he has done and promised you today and tomorrow. And don't worry about anything else, nor don't worry about how things look. Let's look at one more verse. Let's go to Isaiah 26. Isaiah 26. Just looking at verse 3-9. All right, Isaiah 26, verse 3-9. It says, "You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you." So you see the correlation between the mind being stayed on you because of trust, the mind being pushed in Yah's direction. And because the mind is being pushed in that direction, Yah is keeping us in perfect peace. It says, trust in Yahuah forever, for in Yah Yahuah is everlasting strength. In him is everlasting strength. For he brings down them that dwell on high, the lofty city. He lays it low, and he lays it low even to the ground. He brings it even to the dust. This is talking about his ability, what he's capable of doing to those things that we see as high towers above us, things towering over us, things that we are unable to move. He brings it low. He has everlasting strength. It says, the foot shall tread it down, even the feet of the poor and the steps of the needy. The way of the just is uprightness. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not a matter of just him just doing things because you think he's going to do things for you, and then we walk contrary to him. This is not how things work. We want to see the true power of Yah, and not just simply the mercy of him not destroying you for your rebellion, for your disobedience. Many people take the mercy of Yah for the power of Yah. And yes, it is the power, but there's a power that Yah wants to manifest in you. And that power doesn't get manifested in you because in you is the desire to rebel, is a desire to do your own thing. So look at what it says. The way of the just is uprightness. You, most upright, does wait the path of the just. So the way of the just, the righteous, is uprightness. And because Yah is the most upright and he weighs the path of the just, it didn't say he's going to weigh the path of wicked people purposely sinning and feeling bad, and then sinning and then feeling bad. He wants to establish uprightness in his people because he is the most upright. It says, yea, in the way of your judgments, O Yahuwah, have we waited for. We waited for you. The desire of our soul is to your name and to the remembrance of you. With my soul have I desired you in the night. With my spirit or my mind within me will I seek early. For when your judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. Judgments is a reference to his right rulings, the things that is done according to righteousness. When Yah's people is walking in righteous dealings on this earth, then the world will be able to learn righteousness from those righteous individuals. Not people walking around, blaspheming his name before the nations, saying one thing, doing another thing. They're not being real examples. No one is going to learn righteousness from you. They're going to hear righteousness, but they're not going to learn it from you. There's a difference. If my children are looking at me doing something, they can hear me say the opposite all day long, but what are they learning? Do you understand? They're not learning the right thing. They're learning the wrong thing. They're just hearing the right thing. So it's very important that Yah's people who are walking in his trust, walking in his rightness, uprightness, walking in his confidence, is also displaying a character on this earth that the world may see and learn, that the world will learn righteousness. So very important. The number one point, I don't think this is really in any sequence order, but we're going to start with this. The number one point of atonement and redemption is to establish trust, faith by remembering, meditating day in the day. Remember, it says, I seek you early in the morning and I pursue you at night. I meditate on your word at night and I seek you early in the morning. This is the consuming of our mind. Blessed are they, those who have perfect peace, those whose mind is stayed on him. We have to understand that where we direct our mind is going to determine whether we have peace or whether we have some fake peace of the world. There is a difference. Yahushua said, the Messiah said, peace I leave with you, not as the world gives. So there's this distinction. There is a distinction because there is a reality. The world is going to give you a fake peace. The world is going to display a fake peace. The Messiah came here to show us true peace. Whenever we say true something else, is because there's a false version, right? So the number one point of atonement, of reconciliation with Yah, is to establish trust and to pray that Yah will establish this in our hearts and minds. And to faith by remembering. Remember the things that Yah has done in your own life, in the lives of those who were an example to us in the scriptures, and also in the promises that he promised to do today and tomorrow. So I hope that this was a word of encouragement. The first point of reconciliation or atonement and redemption is establishing trust. I hope that this was an encouraging study for you, and look forward to the next study. Shalom, everyone. Shalom, shalom. Thank you guys for joining our study today. I hope that it was edifying. And if you want to support this ministry, you can support us on 4alc.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube page. Click the like button and the notification bell. I hope to see you guys on the next study. Shalom, guys.